you can add details using blend to get in some windows, to make your door look slatted, to beef up the contrast on your steps so that they really showcase well. And let's get started. So I'm going to move this off to the side. I'm in Adobe Illustrator. Make sure you've watched the lessons prior to this if you've got any questions. And I'm going to dive right into my layers. So I've got my background set up, my base house, my house details, and I'm going to start a new layer. And I'm going to call this House Fine Details. You call it whatever you want. This is where I'm going to get in with some really fine details. So first I'm going to beef up the steps. I'm going to use a very similar blend process to what I've already been using. I'm going to make this white. I am then going to double check it that I like the way it looks and that it showcases small. I can still see it. I'm going to make another with Command C and Command Shift V. And then I'm going to use Shift, move that up into place. You can either use whatever tool you want. I'm going to pull this in using my scale tool. Grab both of those. Blend. Let's go look at my options setup. I have one. That's perfect. I just want the one in between. I want it to be aligned to the page. I'm going to hit OK. Then I have to go in and actually make it. And that looks good. I can see those details at large and small. And I'm happy with that look. So I'm going to do a very similar thing now for the door. I'm going to come in using my rectangle. I am going to make a shape that's just inset a little bit into this door. I'm going to go fix that I just did. And we want it to be a fill. I'm going to grab the brown. Again, don't go grabbing random colors for your artwork. Make sure you're using your palette wisely and grabbing hues that coordinate. Grabbing random colors throughout your process is a surefire way to make your color palette look random in your final product. So I've got this and I'm just kind of perfecting its placement, and that looks pretty good to me. I'm going to come in now and I'm going to start with a line at the very top because that's going to tell Illustrator where I want it to start. It's not that I want the first line down here. I want it to start there and then evenly disperse. So that looks good. I'm going to Command C. I made it the color of the door, notice, and I moved it over to the stroke. So Command C, Command Shift V, Shift arrow down. Looks like nothing's there, but it is. There's one, there's two. I'm going to make a blend in between. I obviously want more than just one slot. I'm gonna guess maybe 20. It's a lot of trial and error with Illustrator, with any artwork really. And that looks pretty good. Actually, I'm maybe happier with that than my original because I can see it much smaller, I can see it bigger. Great. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna add a door handle. I'm going real simple for this. Just gonna be a nice circle. I already know that the color contrast of that cement looks pretty good. Although up next to that brown, it looks very bright, like white. So I'm gonna turn it down just a little bit so it looks like metal. That's a little bit better. I can see it from a distance. I can see it up close. Good. Command S for save. Now I'm going to come over and work on the window. And if you remember, what we're doing is this kind of detailed window effect. So I'm going to show you how I do that. Come over here, make a square, fill it with the blue sky and a white stroke for the frame. Beef up the stroke to an amount that looks appropriate. The blue sky, obviously a window would reflect this sky, probably would reflect the grass, just depending on your camera angle, who knows what it could reflect anything. We're going to go real simple with the sky for this one. It wouldn't be the exact same blue. The easiest way to do that is just click back into my color picker, turn it down a little bit. So it's still a blue, still the same hue, but it's not exact. Much better. Now, super easy way to make those slats. Same thing like we did for the door. I'm going to give my left side Command C, Command Shift V, Shift arrow over into place. They look too big, so I'm going to turn them down to just one stroke point. And this one looks a little funny. We'll shift to keep the top and bottom aligned. Okay. You could always come to your line panel and vertically align the tops. So at this point I want to go and probably do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go see what 5 would look like. And make. That's not bad. I might actually change it though and go with 4 just so it's not too busy. There we go. I can see that better from a distance. Now, quick and easy, I'm going to Command C. I'm going to Command Shift V. It's there. I can grab my rotation tool and start rotating. If I hit Shift, it's going to quickly let me pop it into place. And now I have this window. So I want some details on this window, right? I don't want it just plain. I'm going to grab my 2 blends. Look over in your layers panel so you really know what you're working with. In this sub layers, these blends are the white window detail. White window detail 2. Not that I had to rename those, but it does help, and you'll see why in a minute. So I've got these 2 selected. I'm gonna do the same. Command C. If you can't, another way you can get to the same thing for Command Paste, you can always go to Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste, and Place. So again, it's there. Notice it's in my layers, didn't change anything here. At this point, if I go and change the coloring to a gray, you'll see it. There they are. But then what I need to do is move them behind the white layer. Still can't see them. Now I'm going to use my arrows, left and down. And it gives me a really nice little shadow effect. Now, what's a little strange is you can see all kinds of funny edges, so let's fix that. I'm going to grab my base. If I can't get it from here, you could always see it. Keep those locked right in here. Perfect. Yes, correct one. So I'm going to Command C, Command Shift V. I do a lot of that. I'm going to drop the fill. Now this is on the top, which I like. It covers all of those. It gives a framework for the window, which is perfect. So now I can see a little shadow from the frame and a little shadow from each of the windows. So I really like that. And I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to go up to File, Save. I can add a gloss in for these windows. Your windows would have a little bit more shine in them, and there's a lot of different ways. You can use gradients, you can use different shapes and blend them together. That's kind of up to you how you want to create that. But we will, for this one, we'll go in and do a gradient. It's not going to let me grab that. So I'm going to hide or lock all of these layers so I can really get in there. And he's still not. So there he is. We can always move him. And let's see, why is he not letting me? Okay, great lesson. I'm fumbling around looking for this, and I do this a lot, and I have lots of students that do this. My stroke is forward. It's not letting me add that gradient to the stroke. Click on my fill just to move it forward. Now it should allow it. Perfect. So I'm going to come over. Again, there's just so many different ways to manipulate this. I'm going to use my panel this way. I'm going to change both to white. And then my bottom, I'm going to grab the blue. Nice. And I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. Let's get him back in there and see how he translates from a distance. Pretty good. If you don't like that it's fully white and you want that to be a little bit lighter blue, quick and easy way is just go and add a gradient. So now this guy's got a pale blue. And then take off the white, move him over. So now I've got a nice white gradient. It shows some value of some light source. Perfect. So I'm going to hit save. And now I'm going to go in and build that circular window topper. Just as a reminder here. And there's a lot of different ways. I'm going to show you the way that I would do it. So I'm going to grab my ellipse tool. I'm going to use this square as a base for how big I want this ellipse to be. And I'm going to bring it up using shift just above this window. I'm going to come over here with my scissors, click on my 2 points so that I can cut out part of it. Now it's not a close shape. I need to go use my pen tool. Once I get that little dash mark at the bottom right corner of the pen icon, I know that I'm on that point and I'm going to continue with that point. So click on that, and then see I could click anywhere. Where I want to click is go fill it and make it a complete shape. So you're looking for that empty circle at the bottom right corner of the icon. Once I click, now it's a complete shape. Perfect. It's gotten a little high, so we're just going to bring it down. I want some of this to show through though, but that looks pretty good. So now we're going to go make our lines. And this is similar to what we've been doing. I don't want them to be so big. I want it to be a 1-point stroke just like these. I'm going to Command C, Command Shift V, and then I'm going to use my rotate to turn it, my arrow to move it, and get it in place. So now I've got these two, which looks pretty good. I'm going to do another Command C, Command Shift V. Again, grab my rotation tool, and I'm going to hold shift so I can get a 45-degree turn. I'm going to move this guy in place, and he's going to be kind of my base middle. The blend doesn't do great with shapes like this. I've just sort of learned. So I'm going to do kind of an intermediate part and then copy and paste to make it look like I've blended it across all of it. So I've got these two. I'm going to go into blend. Blend options, and I do think I want it to align on a path. Again, it's trial and error. I think I only want one. We'll have to see how it looks. We can always change it. Great. Now what's weird is it doesn't go all the way to the end. So you can go up to object. You can go to blend and expand. So now it's not going to be a blend, but that's fine. So now I have access to these points. And then I can come in with my direct select and very carefully move that out. That looks good. Now the easiest way is to copy and paste this, but you got to be careful because I can kind of get them out of whack. So I want to fill this in with another blend. I'm going to ungroup. So now what that does is it released all of these lines as their own individual lines. So then I'm going to repeat this process for these two. And I'm going to object expand. I'm going to use my direct select. I'm going to grab that very carefully, just pull it out so that it reaches the outer frame of the window. Now I have all of these, which look great. You can ungroup if you want them to kind of all be the same. I'm going to hit shift to get rid of the window. Now I'm going to object, transform, reflect. If I hit OK, it's just going to turn it. If I hit copy, it's going to make an exact copy with a vertical reflect. Perfect. I'm going to use shift to move this over so he stays in place. And that looks pretty good. So now let's go add the same details we did before. Click off of that guy. I like to group them just because it helps me grab all these different shapes. Double check your layers that you haven't gotten things just so crazy. We can unlock those if we need to. Everything looks fine so far. And I'm going to grab those, hit shift to get rid of the window, and I'm going to make this darker gray. So I'm going to command C, or I could go up to edit, copy, edit, paste in place, change the color value, change the opacity from normal to multiply to make it look like it's more of a shadow. And I can turn the opacity down. Now what multiply does, let's see if you can kind of see that from here, is it's going to show some of the value of coloring below whatever your color is. I want this to be a little bit darker. So it's going to pick up a little bit of this blue, which is going to be really nice. And I'm happy-ish with that. So now we're going to move this guy into place. I'm just going to go down one and over one, although then it gets too far. So we're going to bring this in just a little bit. I want this bottom. Those look pretty good. You would have some shading here. We're not going to be exact. This is getting us close, but not exact. Now I want to go and rearrange my layers and move them. So having it grouped was nice. I can just move this guy down. Great. He's not even, but it wouldn't be even. And now I can come in and make my frame again to hide some of these parts. So I can go Command C, Command Shift V, paste in place, and take out the fill so that it just covers the top, which I think looks good. I'm not thrilled with where all my placements are, so I'm going to move this guy just a little bit more. I want to be able to see him more. There, that's a little bit better. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. You can keep tweaking. I could work on these things for 100 hours. That's kind of up to you. So at this point, I'm going to come over, I'm going to copy and paste. So I've got two windows. Good. Nothing's locked. Copy. I am going to, let's just make a copy using the transform. We'll say move. We're going to do a copy of this. We're going to go to the right. I don't want any vertical movement. I only want a little bit of horizontal movement. It's giving me a preview of where that's going to go. Still not far enough. Too far. I'm going to go in and tweak this by hand, but that gives me, now I'm going to hit copy. If I hit OK, it's just going to move it. If I hit copy, it's going to make a duplicate. Perfect. Now while it's selected, I'm going to hit shift so it stays exact and move this guy into place. So I'm getting it close. I'm centering it between the door and the outside of the wall, and I'm not perfect, but it's close. So now I have these two windows, lots of detail. I've got a gloss in them. I've used blend to create some really perfect lines and details. I've also come in and made this slatted door. So things are looking good. At this point, hit save. And the next lesson, we will review adding some details to the roof and the fence line.